Greetings to all of you. Uh, this week we online or on the video on this video we talk only about the art of midwifery that Socrates discusses at the beginning of the Theaetetos, the new dialogue that we move on to this week. And remaining for our meeting on Thursday, please remember that we do meet on Thursday. Please remember to come to class online so we can discuss that. So on class on Thursday online, we will discuss mainly the other theories of knowledge. So we have in this dialogue in the Theaetetos, right? We have this image of midwifery that Socrates proposes to Theaetetos, and he spends quite a lot of time explaining what his art is, and he compares his art of midwifery that he has with human beings, with men, he says especially, right, with the art of midwifery that midwives have with pregnant women. So there are two things that are quite important here. On the one hand, is that he himself describes himself as a midwife, and at the same time that a midwife cannot exist as a midwife unless there is someone who's pregnant with something, right? So he cannot be a midwife unless there is somebody who is pregnant with something. So what is that with which you are pregnant? And one of the other assignments for this week is to read a blog. You'll have the link to the blog in the comments of this video, but also on D12 for our assignments. And in that blog, I discuss a little bit the metaphor of pregnancy in different contexts, in more of a theological context. In this one, in the philosophical context now, the one in which Socrates describes pregnancy and at the same time midwifery, we have human beings who are pregnant with some sort of things that he, Socrates, brings to the surface. And as we discussed in class on Thursday, those of you who were there, he talks quite a lot about what kind of things that you may be pregnant with. What are those things that you have already inside of you? But let me say something first about him. When we read Socratic dialogues, the early Platonic dialogues, Plato's early dialogues called Socratic dialogues. Forgive me for this mistake I had before. So in those dialogues, Socrates is famous for not claiming any kind of knowledge about anything. When we discussed the allegory of the cave on Thursday, those of us who were there, we emphasize quite a lot that he does not define the ideas that apparently you find out the moment in which you come out of the cave, and then the moment in which your eyes got adjusted to the sun so you can see the realities themselves. But we claimed that those ideas, the forms themselves, are what they are in virtue of themselves, and they do never change. They do never participate in becoming. They are not one thing at the moment and a different thing at another, just as I am a certain thing at the moment and a certain thing at another. For example, I am tall if I compare myself to a 2-year-old kid, but I am quite sure if I compare myself to a basketball player, right? Or to a football player or to any kind of athlete. Well, not really any kind of athletes, but nevertheless. So I participate in different things. If I were the form of tallness itself, I would be tall in virtue of myself, the form, okay? Not me, the human being. So now Socrates says, I am not pregnant with those kind of ideas. I do not know them. I cannot offer any kind of definitions. That's why people criticize me, but they criticize me for nothing because there is nothing in me. So it's not, I have no knowledge. It's not, I cannot express any knowledge. I cannot give birth to something. I am not pregnant. However, all of the other people that I talk to, or the majority of them, are pregnant. And what I do, by asking them questions, I make them reveal what's already within themselves. What does it mean? That each one of us is pregnant with something. What are we pregnant with? Knowledge. In what sense are we pregnant with knowledge? We have been accustomed, or we have been acquainted with the forms themselves, with the form of goodness, with the form of justice, with the form of courage, with what it means to be beautiful and so on. Prior to coming to this life, I'm giving you more than what the Theaetetos says here, of the dialogue Theaetetos. And by Socrates asking me questions, I can somehow recognize the knowledge I have already inside of me. If you read the dialogue The Meno, which we haven't read in this class, but maybe you have read it for other purposes, in the Meno he talks about knowledge as being recollection. What does it mean? It means that I have the knowledge, it's somehow buried within me, and through a process of cross questioning, I can give birth to that knowledge as long as I am well directed by the one who helps me give birth to that knowledge. At the same time, all of this process is painful. Socrates emphasizes that. And I want to emphasize, because often people talk about the fact that philosophy is not relevant to various fields, or it's not relevant to health sciences, the field in which all of you are, right? Nurses, health sciences, nursing, health sciences, and social work, and so on. But think about Plato. Plato always, not always, but most of the time compares his ideas or gives an image of his ideas in the realm of health. Why? Because in the realm of health, we go from a state of unwellness, if I can put it this way, to a state of wellness. And that passage from not being well to being well is a stage of pain and suffering. And you all know, may you be blessed, all of you who work in this field, and you know how much suffering surrounds you, and God help you all. Why? Because the people with whom you work, the people you take care of, are people who suffer, who are not in a state of goodness, and they want to go into a state of goodness. You help them to go there, but you help them to go there by putting them through suffering, by having surgeries, all those things that you go to when you are sick. And right now, in the context of this terrible virus, we can probably relate more to this. So, coming back to this philosophy, what is Socrates' approach? He cleanses us. He cleanses us of all the diseases we have, so we can give birth to that which is already buried in us, and we can no longer have access to it because we have buried it deep inside. I mentioned this metaphor before, and I will mention it again. We come into this life with our minds, and what happens in this life, my cat just says, my cat, it's not really my cat, it's my son's cat. Sorry for the movement. So, we come into this life and with an empty mind, so to say. Not really empty because we have something inside already. What? Our soul, right? That is already acquainted with knowledge. And we come into this life, and everything from our senses give us information and give us ideas, and the ideas come into our mind, and we fall in love with them, and we believe that our ideas are ourselves, and we have knowledge, and we are proud and trust ourselves all the time. And then we get to a point in which we are no longer able to have communication with other people because we believe that we are right, and if they disagree with us, we can no longer have any kind of access to them. And then at the same time, because we are right, we can see nothing anymore. Our eyes and our mouth and our ears do not give us the information about realities, about the world outside of us, because we filter everything to our own emotions, to our own ways of thinking, and so on. We are close to ourselves. What does Socrates? We are hoarders, right? Hoarders of ideas who no longer make any kind of sense. And even more than that, I often say that if we go to a store, we want to buy a wonderful couch because it looks so nice in the store with all the lights they have and stuff like that. And then we bring it back into our miserable room because everything is so crazy and nothing matches. The couch itself no longer looks good as it looks in the store because now in my mess, it is completely a different kind of couch. So the ideas that I get from the outside, even if they are good ideas, if they come into a hoarded mind, a mind in which I have no kind of understanding, the ideas themselves no longer make sense either. What does Socrates do? He allows us, first of all, to get cleansed. Allegory of the cave. We come out of the cave and we get rid of all the prejudices that we have, right? So through questions, he shows us that our ideas are inconsistent, and because they're inconsistent, we'll have to give up. This is the cross-questioning through which everyone should go through, he says in one dialogue in the Sophist, even the king himself. And the moment in which we do that, the beauty that we have inside of us, knowledge itself, appears. And so, through all this process of pain and suffering, Socrates has helped us to give birth to that which is already within me. I will actually make another link here with another blog post I once wrote about hoarders of ideas. Anyway, so remember this. Remember the art Socrates has, the art of midwifery. That is an art that is helping those people who have something already inside of them. And I would claim that everybody has it, or at least I think Plato would say that. Even if in a dialogue he doesn't say that. To give birth to that which is already present. And also remember that in this, that means that we are all pregnant, and that we are all pregnant with beauty and kindness and knowledge, and we can give birth to that kind of thing as long as we truly acknowledge who we really are and truly acknowledge what happens inside of ourselves. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Please watch this video before Thursday and write your comments on it well, and we shall go on from there. Be well, may you all be healthy, and may all of your family, all of your people in the families be healthy as well.